Let's go there.
And the next resolution on the 15th will be you have employees?
Yeah,
Not
that's
yet.
a bad one.
So it's going to be mandatory sick pay for every business in the city of Austin,
What?
for every employee.
Ooh.
1 hour for every 30 hours worked.
Let's let them tell you.
The only exceptions to the rule are the city of Austin, the independent school district, the state, and the federal.
You lie.
No, I'm not.
I know you're not lying.
No, it's Greg Cesar.
Wait a minute.
Greg Cesar.
So who can come back again? I mean, it's set in.
Pretty,
I mean, it's not like the only employees that have worked with you for 5 years or something.
no, it's everybody. It's
Oh.
30 hours, 1 hour
on,
sick time.
You
So
are
if you have 2 employees, how do you afford,
welcome. Welcome to the Trailer Park Show. How's everybody doing on this Monday night? Oh,
Almost.
oh
Monday night.
well, and another thing too is who all watched the game last night? Did your team win?
I didn't have either team there, but I did watch.
You did watch.
Uh,
So I guess you.
yeah,
Oh,
there's
here she comes.
Here
Here
she
she
is,
comes.
the
Here she
cheaters.
comes. So,
cheaters.
Well, I didn't like either team, but if you put a gun to my head and made me pick one, I had to pick the Eagles. That's my
Uh-huh.
hatred for Tom Brady and Mr. Fancy Pants sold his soul to the devil and the Cheatriots is greater than my dislike of the Eagles. And while the Eagles come from Pennsylvania, but the other side, so okay, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, they're in the same state. So thank goodness the Eagles won because Pittsburgh still got 6, and Tom Brady didn't even congratulate
And
the
I did
other
confirm,
team.
he sure didn't. You were right.
He
sure
did not congratulate the other team. He ran off the field crying.
Like a little spoiled puppy.
oh,
You know, now Belichick went out and congratulated the other coach, I saw, but I didn't see Tom Brady go out there and do anything to Mr. Fancy Pants sold his soul to the devil. And then they have the right, then they're complaining about 3 calls that didn't go their way on the field. Oh my goodness, the shoe's on the other foot and you don't like it, do you? Yeah, all this hubbub last week of all the things about how the reps are being paid and how the owners of the Patriots are like this with good old the NFL. Well, guess what? Doesn't feel so good when the shoe's on the other foot, does it?
We haven't even introduced our guest, and we're all over.
Well,
You had to say something about
we touched on some current events, so that was a good
Hey,
thing.
hey.
That was a good
It
thing.
was a
huh?
good. I
That's a good
watched the
thing.
last 5 minutes of the game. I refused to watch it, but I saw Tom Brady. Oh, Mr. Fancy Pants sold to the devil man get knocked on his keister, and I loved it.
Hold on now. You only watched the last 5 minutes because I hollered out the game's over when he did his fumble of the ball, and then wanted to move his arm forward like, oh, he's really making a pass.
Yeah, and then you see how theatric that the
I had to laugh my ass off at that one.
can be because he tried to get some kind of holding or something put on the other guy. Oh yeah, and they even mentioned it by the newscasters, the sportscasters, how theatrical the Gronk can be when he wants a call called. Anyways,
So you said
congratulations, Eagles.
he had a bunch of drama working. That's what
Oh
you're saying.
heck yeah!
Okay.
Now you saw it on those last 5 minutes how they really worked it and didn't work last night because they couldn't pay off the referees.
Are we gonna be able to put anything on the screen, Mommy?
I have no idea. Sir.
Well, I'd like to get Brian's.
Excuse me.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Chris, for the update.
Is that an update on football?
an evil laugh.
It was a good game. It was an action-packed and a high-scoring game. Only that one turnover was the only turnover. I couldn't believe that part.
Well, it was a good game.
Didn't turn it on.
Yeah, football is a good game. I like when they're well-executed plays like that.
Mm-hmm.
And this one was sure, sometimes it just goes back and forth.
Well, I
And
didn't
nobody
watch it much,
scored.
and I'm not a football person, but I did see it when Philadelphia Eagles quarterback actually made the touchdown.
Yeah,
I thought that was a cute
razzle-dazzle
strategy.
play there.
Yeah, they went back and they redone it, and
Pulled out all the stops.
yeah, they did, didn't they? It was really well. So I'm going to hand it over to my co-host tonight, Pokey, the producer of the show as well, and he's going to do the introduction of all our guests tonight.
Gary Teal's been, I don't know, they're not really just. Gary Teal's been here before, and he'll be here again, I hope.
Once.
Well, you'll be here.
I'll come by every
Well,
time
you were
I'm
behind the
invited.
camera a couple times.
Wherever I'm invited, I go there.
And Christopher, hello, sir. How are you?
Hey, Christopher.
He's
Hey,
been
Gary.
behind the camera a lot and on the screen a couple times. And Brian over here has something called the
Construction.
Say Brian's last name because you can say it so well. There you
Ganges
go.
by the river. The construction initiative, is that it?
That's it.
We're changing lives one man at a time. Brian Ganges, managing member, TCI. We all know and love here Isaac Rowe, the Man of Me Project.
Mm-hmm.
We all know and love Isaac Rowe, the Man of Me Project. And Brian's going to be working with him.
Awesome, Brian. Awesome.
And yeah, we got to keep our mics close there. On the 10th, I think, is next Saturday, correct?
That's correct.
Will be the first one they're going to have up in North Austin. And we know, I really think these are really good things y'all are doing. Anytime you can reach out in the community, there's so many. It even affected me. There's so many young men that grow up in single parent households. They don't know how to be men. I was one of them. And while I was present for my kids, it didn't realize till Isaac told me about how it's generational. There were things I didn't know because I didn't have a daddy to teach my kids. And I already identified two of them I was telling you about, the language in finance and education. When we bought our house, I had to take my landlord because I didn't know what to ask. I didn't know what I was doing. Things like that. And the education, I think, was the other one. Because both my kids did real well in school. And I know there was some way I should have been able to get them into community college at least. I didn't know what to ask. And I was too stupid to know to ask anybody, just.
Well,
I thought I was just
you were
being.
busy working.
I was working all
Yes,
the time,
you were the
50, 60 hours a
breadwinner
week,
and your family.
and trying to run trucks. And when you buy your own truck, it works even worse. But still, I didn't know, and I didn't know to think about it. And little things like that the man in me can help. As we all know, particularly in the black community, young black males they call it a school to prison pipeline. Well, this is also affecting white and Hispanic community. Maybe not the same degree or same numbers, but it's still high. I read somewhere it's like 40% in the white community of single-parent households, and 70% in the black community. And I don't know what it was. It was higher than 40% in the Hispanic community, but not too much worse. So I know these programs are really good. And I'd like you to tell us something about this construction initiative and how you met Isaac and
Well,
where are we going?
well, thanks for having me. Appreciate the opportunity and the time to speak with you guys. I connected with Isaac, a few months ago through. I saw a sponsored advertisement on Facebook, and there was a manhood conference that was going on ACC campus. And we just reached out, and I told him who I was. I came from, moved here from Arlington, and I had a radio show in Dallas, and we talked about a lot of men's issues. And actually, the name of my show was Man Talk, and his is pretty much the same thing. So we connected on that level, and we just talked, and we realized that we had similar vision, and and just some of the goals and the ideas that we had kind of meshed. And I was new in town, looking to connect, looking to plug into the same type of thing. And having to start over what I, did in the DFW area, he's already got the infrastructure and things already in place, and so we just saw there was a perfect synergy, and we just connected.
Awesome.
And we're having the first launch of the Man Talk for Northside this Saturday, and looking forward to it. And if I could kind of give you a little background of
Go right ahead.
what we're going to do. Okay, so what we plan to do with the Man Talk, well, it's already started, but the value that I bring to it and what I see doing things a little differently is I see a lot of good programs and a lot of good things out there for young men and, helping the black community and all this. I see a lot of good things. Where I see a sort of a disconnect is there's too much of an adherence or a reliance on government, on church, on entities outside of the person or the family, where I do believe that some of those groups can help enhance and be a support to families and individuals. Sometimes it's more of a crutch, more of a hindrance. Too much help isn't help at all. So what we do TCI and with Man and Me is we're looking to help empower the individual, empower the male, and help him to see his rightful place, who he is, his identity, his purpose, his function. And with that, putting that man in his proper position, he will be confident in himself, he'll be a leader in his family, and in turn be a leader in his community. And those programs, be they government or church or private sector or whatever, will be an assistance, not the end all be all. And so we just want to be that nexus between the problems in the man and connecting him to his purpose and his identity. So
No,
we see things a little differently,
You know what?
as far as how do we help. You know, a lot of people, you know, they want to help, but sometimes their help is counterproductive. And so we just want to put people in the best position possible to be as productive as possible and reach their fullest potential.
Can I jump in here for something? First thing I would like to say is I really like it a lot because it's not restricted to just black men.
Correct.
Any race can go down there.
Correct.
Now, you did mention government, churches, and private. And I always thought that part of the problem, like you say, I blame Democrats for all this, the government part. And I always thought that it was the church's responsibility more. I see the government is taking over things that the churches used to do. But as more and more people don't go to church anymore, they've kind of lost a lot of their clout, I guess you could call it. I don't know. Do you?
Well,
I'm sorry. It's very refreshing because we've been told so long that it takes a village. It takes a village. It takes a village, and that we were kind of to give up our rights as parents and let the village raise our children.
right.
And what you guys are doing is teaching people you have to be responsible
Yes.
for your own actions,
Yes.
for yourself.
And if you are a person who takes responsibility for your actions, you're no longer a victim. So if something happens and you're always blaming this group, this person, you know, then you're never free, because you're always at the whim of somebody else changing in order for you to be free. So people who say, well, I can't get this job, or they fired me because I'm black, or they fired me because I'm Hispanic, or they did this to me because I'm white, or I'm a woman, or whatever. You're always at the mercy of somebody else giving you something or providing an opportunity or whatever. If I say in myself, you know, hey, I'm going to own this, I'm going to take responsibility, even if I didn't do it, even if I didn't cause the problem, I'm going to say I own where I am, I own who I am, and I know my potential, I know who I am, and I'm going to make this happen. So now I'm free, I'm liberated. I'm not a victim, and I'm not, you know, the things that happen to me, I don't have to base them or judge you or talk, you know, or say, hey, this is because of you. Everything that I get is because of my actions, my disciplines, and everything. So it's liberating.
Tough. Your uphill battle because our young men, even they see our adults acting that way
Right.
now in politics and everywhere.
Right.
Across
Football
the whole
players.
country.
Right.
It's their fault. It's their fault.
Right.
It's
well,
not
that's
my fault.
And that's the difference between our group. We don't idolize politicians and athletes and that sort of thing. We cause people to see, you know, hey, potential is in you. You know, have faith in yourself, believe in yourself. Of course we believe in God, but, you know, don't look at other people as, you know, I'm going to be like him when I grow up. No, you don't want to be like somebody else. I want to be like Mike. I want to be the best version of me.
Right.
That's who I want to be. And for people to, you know, a lot of kids, you know, I want to be a rapper, I want to be a basketball player. You know, those are pie in the sky. It's never going to happen for most people. You know, you've got 10, 11 slots on a basketball team, and there's only 30 teams. So, you know, the chances of most kids making the NBA is slim to none.
I can understand that part. What you said about be the best at you. A lot of these kids, they're looking for role models.
And I understand
And when they
that.
see their favorite NFL star takes a gun, goes into a tit bar, and starts a fight, and hey, I want to be like that.
Right. But see, that all comes and
Lots of
stems
fun.
from the lack of identity. Because if you know
No
who
father
you are,
figure in the home.
right, and that's part of it. And because if you know who you are, out of who you are, your purpose will be revealed. If you don't know who you are, then you see something on TV. Yeah, I want to be that, or I want to do that, or I'm going to do this. I'm going to sell drugs, you know, and make excuses for why you're doing it. I understand, you know, you may have a hard life, or you might be poor, or whatever. I understand that, But if you know who you are and you have a certain standard that you live by, you'll never sell drugs. You could say, oh, you never know what you'll do. Look, there's if you have a standard that you set in your life, there are certain things that you will do and there are certain things that you won't do. But until people set that standard in their lives and have a revelation or discernment, whatever you want to call it, of who they are, people won't know their actual true potential.
Right.
They won't know where they're going. It's kind of like a roadmap. A roadmap tells you two things. A roadmap tells you where to go and where not to go. So if we're going to Buda from here, we're pretty much going to get on 35 South and go. But if we start seeing signs for Round Rock, we're going the wrong way.
That's true.
So that's kind of what we do with the Man and Me project and the Man Talk group, is we help to set them on a course.
That sounds bad for me because sometimes I realize I go 2 miles. I've been going the wrong way. Crank my hair up a little higher, then I'll figure it out. Okay, that's. I know you want to say something in here, Gary.
No, I was
Pretty
just
good so
going to
far?
recommend against I-35.
Yeah.
It's just not a good strategy in life.
Well, it is the road most taken, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
That's for sure. But as a single parent, it's it can be hard. It was hard for me as a single parent, but I always instilled things in my son and told him about his potential. Yeah, I want to beat it in him, because I'm like, boy, I didn't raise you to be this way, or what have you. So he got grown and he went his other way, which is the total opposite direction of where I wanted him to go. But in the end, with me being a praying mama and still encouraging him to get out of what you're in, you don't have to stay there.
Right.
Things don't always stay the same unless you want them to stay the same.
Right.
And then I also taught him too, you cannot blame shift things on everybody.
That's right.
If it's something you done it.
Right.
But I'm here to encourage you to help you get out of what it is that you're in. And it takes time for that process to come as a parent. We want the best for our kids.
Right.
And it is true when there are parents out there that literally do everything they can for the well-being of their children. Sometimes I think we do a little too much, when you're talking about that reliance.
Right.
My thing was probably I didn't allow my son to go. Go.
Right.
I wanted to shelter
Right.
him, but as a young mother, that was my learning and my upbringing. But
Right.
I'm so thankful, for who he is and who he has become. I know he hadn't tapped into his full potential at this present time, but I know that one day he will,
Right.
But I think you're right about when it comes to different organizations and the government and this and that. And yes, each one of these entities have a part it is that they can play, but it's the reliance.
Right.
You have to know from yourself, from within, who you are.
That's right.
And that's a good thing.
That's right.
First, I think that identity, when they know who they are,
That's right.
it's on.
That's right.
It's on.
It starts there.
That's exactly where it starts.
Yeah.
And I think if more parents will push that for their children, you need to know who you are. That is you. This is you. That is you. Or help them get to that place. There's some adults that still don't know who they are.
We're
They don't know
finding
what
that
their
out.
purpose. They
That's
don't know
right.
what their purpose is, and therefore they haven't tapped into the destiny, to do these things of where, where
That's right.
they're, you can be out of place for so long. Some, I think, just don't quite know how to get into that right place.
Right.
But when you do,
That's right.
and you get in your groove, you're in that place.
That's right.
You'll have to have a grown-up version.
Well, you're right about that. You do.
Well, we deal
There
with,
will-
with
Yeah, that's-
adults.
huh?
Yeah, we deal with adults as well.
Yeah.
That's
So-
that generational
so
thing I
good.
think I was talking
I
about.
could see
It's
the
true,
potential
Pokey.
for this in prisons.
Oh, absolutely.
Where people leave and they're
Absolutely.
all over the place. But
Absolutely.
it's so hard for kids now because they're
And that and the
Well-
the hardest part also with that, what you're
social
saying,
media.
it's not reinforced at home.
That's-
So we see a lot of kids get the proper training, in a half-hour seminar or whatever.
Yeah.
But if it's not reinforced at home, where you're at, 8 hours a day,
Right.
you kind of wash away everything that was
Well, we have
still-
generations now where both mom and dad have to work in
Yeah.
Austin to pay the bills.
Right.
To even try to pay the bills.
Right.
both
You
of
said
them
in
have to
Austin.
work. Well,
Pretty much a lot of places
You're
it's like that.
absolutely
Yeah.
It's a high place to
especially here.
live.
It is. That's why everybody's being pushed out to the suburbs. Maynard, Del Valle.
And they're
Pflugerville.
expensive now.
Yeah, and it's getting that way, yeah. So, I mean, this is basic, used to they blamed us in my generation putting the kids in front of the TV, the one-eyed monster. Now everybody has a smartphone, and we went on a trip Saturday and didn't have internet on our phones where we went. Oh my gosh.
The world was going to end.
We were dying. It was the end of the world. We didn't know what to.
I remember growing up, and I remember, my parents saying, go outside. Go on and play somewhere. Turn the TV off,
Yep.
and y'all going outside and play. Y'all need some exercise. Go on and do something. We had already cleaned up, because we would have got a whooping if we didn't. But we had already done what we needed to do in the house. So why y'all just go?
I don't want to see you come home at dinner time.
Go on
Be home by
outside and
dinner.
play.
Yeah.
Back then it was a good thing where you could play in the community. You knew where your kids were, and your neighbors helped watch them.
Yeah.
Nowadays, parents are like, don't tell my children what to do. Don't tell my child what to do, blah, blah, blah. And that ain't good.
We rode our bikes all over the city. It was safe.
And no helmet either, huh?
Now, and we survived.
Yeah.
Well, and now
But
Austin got
now-
all these bike
Well,
lanes.
now you don't want your kids to go out of your sight
Well, you're right.
because you don't know who's out there.
You don't.
That's true.
And what's out there. And it's
If
just,
I could, I'd like to say something positive about these kids these days that I've just witnessed from mine. When I was driving trucks, I never turned on a computer. When I learned how to turn on a computer, my boys built me one out of all junk computer parts. I had a computer made up like 6 different computers. All those wires behind the TV that with all the just a whole bundle of wires. I drove trucks all my life. None of them know how to drive a truck. None of them can drive a standard. I could damn near halfway rebuild a car and a truck, and none of them really good at that. But they're witches when it comes to these computers. He can plug stuff in. Now, from what I see, all their friends can do the same thing. A lot of them didn't have a single parent. So maybe it's not quite as bad as we might think it is with these idiot things that are on them. But
yeah.
then again, maybe I don't know.
In part, you're right. They're very
I don't know
skilled.
what I'm trying to say here. I
Yeah,
can't
they're-
quite articulate it.
They're very skilled. A lot of kids are very skilled, technologically savvy. But the downside to that, what I see in a lot of instances, is they don't have the social skills
There you go.
because they're so tech savvy. They're so dialed in and plugged into the computer and all the nuance. They don't know the human element. They don't understand what that really is all
I
about.
went back to college a few years ago, and I got on the bus, the shuttle bus, and everybody had earphones in, looking down at their screen. There was no social interaction. And I was like, yeah, I'll talk to anybody. Like to get on the elevator, turn around and say hi. That freak them out. It just freaks them out when you
Yeah.
talk to them, though, nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something.
But yeah, if there's like your kids, if there's an electronic issue, I go to my oldest son. I said, fix this. They got
The problem is getting them to give you the time to come fix it.
Well, you're right about the time.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's
Now,
amazing.
when you were growing up, did you know all your neighbors?
Yeah.
I did
Yeah.
too. Did you? We all knew our neighbors up and down the
We
street.
played
We
with the
did.
kids.
Actually, it was worse than that. Any of my neighbors could have whipped me
Yeah.
if me and the kids was out there and we did something wrong. And there's a story I'll tell you, a true story, right here in Austin. Two little black kids were throwing rocks at cars. The cops came out there, and the daddy grabbed the kids up. When the cops brought, and he took his belt off.
Well,
And the cop wouldn't let him. He said, one kid's mine, one kid's my neighbor's, but and he went to whip on him. This was a decade ago, when you could still do that kind of thing. And the APD wouldn't let him. So I don't know if that story is lending anything there.
Yeah.
I guess they need to get the belt.
Well, your program,
you're absolutely right.
your program. There was something in the news not long ago about the school in Dallas, where they didn't have they needed some men to come for Father-Son Day or something at school. So y'all do you have mentors?
Yes.
So each child is matched up almost,
No, we don't have match. We don't have one-for-one match.
but they just come talk to the kids.
Yeah, well, we have that available, correct. Now, here's one thing that was very disheartening for me. kind of similar to what you're talking about. There were I won't name the school, but there were a couple schools in the Arlington ISD, and they had senior day, and they didn't have there weren't enough men to escort their sons to the 50-yard line, so the coaches had to step in and escort the students. They didn't have enough coaches, so they had multiple coaches have to escort multiple students out.
Wow.
And it's just a sad testimony. Well, it's not a testimony. It's a sad statistic, a metric that we have in the community that just shows the negative side of our communities. And because it wasn't just black, it wasn't just Hispanic, it was white too.
It was, yeah.
But it's just unfortunate that, I'm just saying this as a man, I could never, ever abandon my kid. Never. I mean, that's just unconscionable to me. That just doesn't make sense. That doesn't register to me. But we have people who just haven't received that type of training, because think about this. Now, you're a mother. You carried your son for months, and you bonded with your son. Now, somebody said, would you kill your baby? You're 9 months, 8 months, kill your baby. No! Why? Because you bonded with that kid. Now, the father has to learn and grow into that bonding with that child, because the father doesn't know the kid. Not like the mother does initially, because she's carrying the baby. So when a man abandons a kid, I can understand why. I don't say I agree with it, but I can understand why he does it, because he hasn't bonded. That mother, all the bond is with the mother. So when the man abandons his family, he hasn't even given himself a chance to bond with that kid. Hasn't even given that kid a chance to bond with him. I remember when my daughter was born.
Excuse me here.
I learned my daughter. She learned me over a period of time as an infant, carrying her, holding her, and she realized after a period of time, hey, this is daddy. But it wasn't an instantaneous bond. As soon as she came out, oh, that's my daddy. But she knew her mother. And that's what a lot of guys are not allowing to happen, that bond with their child. And they're missing out on so many blessings in life because they haven't allowed that bond, that natural bond, to manifest.
Yeah, I worked so much when my kids were little, I didn't know them really until I got out of the
Just
field
got
I
to
was
jump in
in.
here, Gary.
I didn't know them. They spent all the time with mom. 2 days after they're born, I'm back at work.
Right.
I think it is so much to that, what you're saying, because I think parents have to teach their sons, the importance of having children and bonding with your children. Even if you're not married, things happen.
Right.
They still need to, teach your child, that's your responsibility.
Right.
It's something you need to do with that.
Right. And this goes back to identity.
Hold on
Yeah.
here. Ma, are you in there? I thought you might have heard this part about how you can't hate your kids because she always complained because I ran mine off. 23 years old. I didn't run him off. Told him, you can either start paying rent, quit sticking girls in and out your damn window, come in the
Well.
front door. I told him your life's out there. I mean, I ain't
has-
saying you got to
there has-
leave the house, but I'm saying, this room's worth X amount of dollars.
Yeah, there has to be that point where I think you have, my son's my oldest is about to go to college. I want him to stay home. He wants, I'm out. I want to go live in a dorm, but
When our last one moved out, Mama had a lot of, I guess, the emptiness syndrome, whatever you call it.
yeah,
And she still seems to cook for way too many people.
my wife will cry. The time will come.
Y'all let them cheer and go.
She did all that.
Let them go.
I didn't say kids. I didn't say
I told her
children. I
to be
said
proud
let
of
them
it
cheer and
because,
go.
now look at him. Now he's finally got his little girlfriend pregnant. And he didn't have to crawl through her window or didn't do like Daddy did or his cousins.
Wow.
Your program on
Say you had a shotgun. I
Saturday
ain't
the
saying,
10th. It's Saturday the 10th. What happens?
Well, we're going to introduce the program and kind of give them a preview of what's to come. And so what we're going to do is we're going to paint the picture for what they can expect. And a lot of times what I do, I'm not going to be able to do it this time, but probably the next week, I usually pipe my dad in on a phone call. Now, I'm 46 years old, and my dad is still a mentor to me. And my dad raised me, and we have unfortunately, we have a unique relationship. My dad raised me, and he was the one that brought me along. A lot of guys that I mentor and talk to can't relate to that. So when I tell them that, just for example, my dad and I text today. We communicate pretty much weekly. We get off the phone, we say, I love you. He still sends me Christmas presents. He still sends me, birthday presents, So when I talk to him and, I ask his advice and we talk about life. And so when I talk to young men and try to show them what it looks like, that's what you have to do with young men. Young men have to see. You can't give a young man a command and say, do this, because a lot of the things that we tell them are abstract. You tell them about love and that sort of thing. Those are abstract terms. So you can't say love. You got to show them what love looks like. You can't go to the grocery store and buy a can of love. You have to show. It's got to be demonstrated. So when I pipe my dad in,
You hear that, Mom? Think they ever saw it?
so when I have these conversations with my father and have him talk to some of the young men, I'm showing them what it looks like to have a father in your life and what it looks like, what it sounds like, and what he does. And he gives them advice as well. And we connect about stories in our own lives. And it kind of gives them hope, because a lot of them haven't experienced a man in their lives. But if they see what it looks like, well, now I've got a picture I can draw on so that I can be this father to my children. And so we give them the picture.
Do you have any older men,
Actually, I do.
older than 46, that are mentors?
I have one that's 57.
I mean, that's not old, young. I mean, that's not old. Sorry,
Not as old as me.
That's not old.
Oh, me.
But my
Yeah, that
point
would
I
be
wanted
the-
to make was that we don't have enough grandparents. These older men have a lot of wisdom, and they need to spread it abroad. We don't have enough older gentlemen.
Well, that's why we're connecting with other men who want to give back. Now, and I also do. I have my father as a part of it, and then I also have a couple of connections with people who are in the NFL and other. I'm reluctant about always connecting them because I don't want to get the kids excited about an athlete.
Right.
It's not just, I don't want to. So I try to connect with people who are just regular, everyday, hardworking folks that you can connect with and relate to.
Right.
Because it's hard to relate to somebody who played in the NFL because that's a different life. But everybody can relate to, most people who are just middle class, hardworking, just honorable, law-abiding people. And so those are the types of people I say, these are the role models that we need to connect with, not the people that you see on TV. These people that you can touch, you can call them on the phone, you can cry with them, you can pray with them. These are the people that we need to connect with. So that's what we do, and we try to connect them with real people, and also we let those folks know, be vulnerable with the young folks. Let them know some of the struggles that you went through,
Yeah.
and it helps.
So is it a weekly event or?
Well, yes, it's weekly. However, we try to do some type of put my hands on you once a week somewhere outside of the group. Whether we go out to lunch, you come to my home, I go to yours, we go to a game, whatever it is, just so that we can share life and connect on a level, because sometimes, we're at the group, 10 guys, some people may feel comfortable revealing information about themselves. Some people might not. But if we develop a one-on-one relationship,
Right.
the likelihood of you being more vulnerable, me sharing my life with you, you sharing your life with me, it increases. And then you get the trust, and then you start to really find out what's inside that person, what's making them tick. And that's what we want to
So you
do.
have two sides of the coin. There's the mentor side, and then
Correct.
the young men side that need the mentoring. Is Saturday for both?
Yes, Saturday's the big group. Well, I don't want to say big. It's we really want to keep it to like 10, 15. We're not trying to build a church. We're just trying to get a nice little connected community brotherhood of guys, and then from there, hopefully, 2 or 3 guys will click, 2 or 3 guys will click, 2 or 3 guys will click, and then I'll click with 2 or 3 guys, and then we'll have the intimate times with with each other and just connect and talk and eat and those sorts of things.
I know we're going to continue talking about this, but for those viewers that are watching now, Brian, can you go ahead on and give them a website address or a telephone number that someone can call and contact? If they're, if you're watching now and you want more information about the Men and Me and what they do when they meet, how can you get involved with it? Then Brian's going to give information, and then we're going to continue talking. And at the end, we'll have it there as well.
Yeah, the construction initiative. That's my website, and that's the best way to connect with me. And everything, all the information's in there. theconstructioninitiative.com.
I
Theconstructioninitiative.com.
think she'll put that up there at the end of the show.
At the end of
maybe.
the show. And that'd be good. I just,
Constructioninitiative.com, that's all it is, and it'll come right up. And I think on the other one, it just put Man and Me in, and it'll
Yeah.
come up too.
Absolutely.
And I think there you'll go to
Yeah.
the Facebook
Yeah.
page and look at the event. And that'll have all the info, I believe, on how to, it's in the domain.
which is awesome. And so it's at the domain.
Yeah, their event will be at the domain.
Yeah.
I'm wishing I could go, but I haven't got even out the house hardly. This is about it for me.
He'll do a one-on-one with you, Pokey. How's that?
Yeah, I definitely need to do.
He'll help you. He'll help you with your parenting skills. He'll help you with that one.
It's late for me now, but okay.
You got some grandkids coming, so.
Yeah, that's true. We already got, well, there's a couple, I guess you could say. One of the kids lived with us. That's another thing, mentor thing. You know, me and my wife been married like 42 years.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason or another, it seems like we just attracted young people.
It's
And There were
awesome.
always young people that didn't have daddies or something.
Mm-hmm.
Itchy Finger Pete, remember him, Ma? He's still around. His parents divorced, and he was just kind of out on the streets. That's my nephew. He's got a couple great kids, great wife. I used to call his room the opium den when he was living with me. I tell him, shit, you're going to have the cops come looking for you, and they're going to find me. I'm going to be pissed off.
So you have this type of thing about you, an
So I
anointed where
guess-
you attract
I guess
attract
there's
these
something
strays,
about
huh?
that.
These stray kids, huh?
Yeah. I don't know why. Have you ever heard it? I mean,
It's a good thing.
Yeah, that is a good thing.
we, throughout our life, there's just been a bunch of them, and we still know most of them. Some of them pretty good.
Well, they're attracted to the love.
Well, I always told him, and now he gets along well. The Pete one, he gets along well with both his father and his mother. Because I told him it's not your fault. That's one thing I learned about my
Yeah.
parents. Mm-hmm. What happened to them is none of that's my fault. You just because it was I was real young at the time. They divorced and string of boyfriends or whatever. My mother and I was never at home. Had to work all the time because they didn't have no money. But none of that was my fault. First, you got to get over that part. I think is a good idea.
Right. Yeah.
Is whatever problems your parents are fighting, it's not your problem. It's not your fault. And that was a big important thing. I just had to go on about my way.
Yeah.
17, I was washing pots and pans on an aircraft carrier, and from there on, if I'd have just not crawled through my old lady's window that night, I'd have probably the best thing to happen to me. It might have been a setup, and she gonna knock it. He come in with the shotgun at the right time, and she got her one.
If you're young and watching this, don't be crawling through these girls' windows. Because
I'm not
nowadays
the only
you
one.
just may get,
I didn't
something
get
may
shot.
just be pointed at your eye, maybe a single or double barrel. So you may
There's
not
a
want to
pump.
do that.
There's Otto, Remington 1100, I believe. No, Remington 1200. Mm-hmm. It was
Pretty vivid when you remember the gun.
yeah, that's
His
what
life
I
flashed
learned.
before him.
So it's best you knock on the door and ask for permission. And you know what? Parents need to instill that in their children. We need to always know who and where our children are going and who they're going with. And I do that to my nieces and nephews. I'm like, who is that?
Well, they weren't
Who
real
is
happy
mama,
with
who is
where,
daddy?
where their child was going, and I got real lucky. Actually, it turned out to be the best thing ever happened to me.
Drives my
And they all
kids
say y'all will
crazy.
never stay married, and they're all
42
divorced.
years.
and
Oh,
still-
see.
Yeah, it drives my kids crazy. I'm so much in their business.
Stay in it.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, that's
My dad used to tell us a long time ago, you belong to me.
You don't have any business.
That's right. And so my son, he's 30.
I'm glad we didn't have
38,
any
and he'll
girls,
call
that's
me,
what I'm
Mama, where were you? He lives out of town. And I'm like, I'm grown. You forget. You the one belong to me. I don't belong to you. Or you belong to me.
You know that reverts though. You eventually he'll be taking care of you in your days. So
Well,
where you're starting to go that direction where he's
yeah, I
gonna be
thought
worried
about that.
Mom.
I'll have to pay a child
Yeah, that's-
caregiver. I'll have to pay a caregiver.
it
I
might
don't
be
think
hard
my
to
son has
do.
the patience. He loves me, but he don't have the patience. I'm not gonna put that on him. I don't think I'll have the patience for him to try to give care of me either.
It's getting close for us like that too. Kids don't like to come around too much anymore.
Yeah, they busy, huh?
We had a nice visit from the oldest. Just popped in. They're out doing whatever. in between movies or something. They like to have a life.
Yeah, and that's good too. But at some point in times when our parents do expire, we do wish we would have spent more time with them, done more things with them. So, Pokey, keep that relationship going with your kids.
I'm really proud of the youngest now. He was getting his little girlfriend pregnant, and I think they're gonna get married once his cousin gets back doing the opium den. Huh? Don't push it.
TMI is what she's saying. Too much information.
Oh, well, we told him, that they're gonna. She didn't really like the daughter-in-law thing that much or something. I don't know, but
She watching you on this show tonight.
we've talked about this before. Let them get married whenever they want. If they do, so what? It's none of our.
Well,
She's a
and
fine
we want to
little
instill
girl.
values in our children. We can
Yeah.
still instill
They've been living
those
together
values.
for a while, and I never realized how cute little girls could be and they're
Go
pregnant
ahead,
like
Gary.
that.
I think we're instilling values of one kind or another, whether we realize it or not. That it's an old joke that you say, I just realized I've become my father or I've become my mother, because as you grow older, you start saying the things that you heard them say.
I've
And
heard that
so,
too,
whatever the adult is doing, good or bad, they're being observed and they're going to be copied. The program you've got going is the only way to address these things. It's got to be a whole lot of contact over a long period of time, because when someone doesn't have that kind of support, by the time they turn 30 years old, you can't give them a 30-minute class
Right.
on how to become a great human being. They're already angry. They're already unhappy people. And it's cooked into the system for decades. And I think the mistake that people make in government programs is that they believe that if they just spend another $1 billion, they can come in and fix a problem. And we all agree it's a problem. That's not what we're fighting about. We all agree that it's a terrible problem and we'd like to fix it. But these things they drive us crazy, because once they get off on the wrong track, they stay on the wrong track for decades. I mean, we're talking about these grandfathers who are still around, but I know I went to a legally segregated first grade classroom, and if I if I were a little bit older, I would remember that even better, and it would be part of who I am, and that damage would stay with me until the day I die. So these things, they last as long as a human life, and none of us want to wait 3 or 4 more generations for these things to get fixed. And the only way to attack them is to have this constant contact. It's not just a class. It's not just a book or a piece of curriculum or an app on a phone. It's something they've just got to spend more time with someone who cares about them.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Gary, that is really good. I do want to ask you a question, Brian, and I'm sure I already know the answer to this question, but I'm just going to ask it anyway. My thing that we all deal with, these youngsters, I'm just going to say it like that, is such a high level of disrespect.
Oh, yeah.
Is that probably number one on y'all's?
That's one of them. Like I said, there's no one thing that we deal with. There's no one wrong thing that we can point to say that's the problem, or one thing to say that's the answer. There's a myriad of things, but that's one of them. But what we do say in the group is identity, purpose, and function is the message. Everything comes from identity. So I just go back to my own upbringing, and I would never in a million years even consider disrespecting an adult when I was a kid. It just didn't even cross my mind. Why? Because number one, it wasn't a part of who I was. It wasn't how my parents raised me. So that was not in my identity. And number two, my parents would kill me. So that's just the reality of it. So I had a healthy fear of my parents and retribution if I was caught doing something that I knew was explicitly prohibited in our home. A lot of times, a lot of kids raise themselves. Parents not there, working 2-3 jobs, or just irresponsible, not there. So they're not instilled with those ground foundational teachings that produce productive citizens. So the television raises them, the neighbors down the street, that's irresponsible raising them. So the guy on the block, that's the role model. And that's just the reality. Crazy Uncle Ed or whoever, he's the guy that comes around every now and then, and so when you have those type of dysfunctional people in your life, when you don't have your own identity, you become a part of Uncle Ed, the guy down the street, crazy people on TV, this person, that person. And so there's a connection with every piece of person, or every piece of every person that you see, every piece of their life. You connect with that, and then because you don't have your own identity, you just take a piece of this, a piece of that, and then you become a person you didn't intend to be.
It wasn't you.
It's not you. That's not who God created you to be.
No, it's not. Does APD, Travis County Sheriffs, do you have any law enforcement that is a part of your group that, come in as a mentor?
No, this is a new. I'm new to the area.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm very new. So we're reaching out now that I'm connected with Isaac and the group. Now we're going to start strategizing about reaching out because they've already got the infrastructure in place. I'm just bringing some more of the ideas and the things that I was doing in DFW down to APD, in Austin, ATX, and reaching out, and we're going to put some plans together and just connect politically, businesses, law enforcement, just make the right connections.
APD is really open to this kind of thing.
Yeah, with the respect thing in our schools, there's no discipline. I took my kids and put them in a charter because for discipline. I mean, my kids weren't. I just wanted a structure. They have uniforms, and some people don't like that, but it's structure.
That's right.
And a lot of them, they go hang out with their friends, and there's no discipline at school.
Right.
They tell off their teachers. They don't do what they're supposed to.
And when they
had
do,
that riot.
You can see it on YouTube.
We had that riot. We had those kids riot at Fulmore. I know what the teacher said was wrong, but the kids shouldn't have acted, tearing up fences and tearing up things. That was their reaction because that's the reaction they see on.
Made good YouTube
television.
film.
That's the reaction they see on TV.
yeah, right.
With with all these political groups now that are just, it's okay to beat people up. It's okay to riot and
Start fires.
squelch and start fires and burn cars and do whatever.
Break glass.
Your First Amendment.
Yes, your First Amendment. But
No, that's not First Amendment.
yeah, no, it's disrespect is not First Amendment.
Yeah.
And when you're young and you do these stupid things, and we've all done stupid things. I haven't done that stupid things like some of these kids are doing. But when you're young and you do some of these dumb things and felonies and whatnot, you can't even get into the military.
You can't.
I mean, and that's a good alternative for kids who are wayward to go to the military, get some discipline, get some structure. But if you've done too many crazy things, they won't let you in.
But they've been told that the village will take care of you.
Yeah, how's that working out?
Yeah, right.
Let me get in the military village and let them think.
I understand. but
You gotta
that's what
behave
they're-
yourself
that's
there.
what they're
Yeah,
told,
oh,
that
yeah.
The village will take care of
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry, whatever.
Well, maybe the village has changed, in their mind, the village has changed to the prison, because they will
Well.
take care of you. And they'll do it at a profit, so they'll do that all day long.
All day long. Man, won't they?
And that's the thing. A lot of people aren't making a connection, with the decisions that they're making. And, hey, if you don't want to act right, there are people who are willing to make $1 to put you in a cage, and they don't care.
Yeah.
And if you don't care about yourself, then I don't care. I mean, if you don't care about yourself, I mean, who do you expect to care? So, and I don't want to, make light of somebody going to jail. I'm just saying we have to make some decisions. And the decision starts with the individual standing in a room in front of a mirror and saying, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
What
now
are you
we
going to
have-
do is the way you answer that question, who am I think, because the all those expressions about a kid going out on the road to find themselves, I don't think you're going to find yourself, in a truck stop somewhere. You have to do something. Like my boy takes care of pets all night long. He goes to the pet store. That's his job all night long, and he loves it. The pets don't disrespect him. They don't have any stupid ideas or say anything that he finds offensive. So that's what he does.
Yeah.
and that's who he is because it's what he does. So I as soon as you said, go do something,
Right.
that's how you find out. And I think maybe we don't encourage kids enough to try different things. They might enjoy being a musician, but they might try it and find out they're no good at it.
Right.
So try something else. They might like growing things. They
That's
might
right.
like making things with their hands. They might like teaching. It just they've got to try stuff, and you know they can change later.
Well, they got to make a living too.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like an entrepreneur.
Yeah, and you know the other thing about that, that's key that you brought that up. What we found in the group is we see a lot, and I remember this from my own upbringing. A lot of things that I see were going on with the kids. I relate to my own upbringing, and I was a dreamer when I was a kid. Dreamer meaning I had a vivid imagination.
We're all dreamers.
Yeah, and so what I remember was being in a classroom and just being bored, learning about whatever or learning about this, something I couldn't relate to, something I couldn't see how I was going to make money in the future, learning about the quadratic equation in algebra 2 or whatever it was. And so I'd daydream, and my mind would wander. And so kids are naturally imaginative. And so when the teacher says, stop doing that, pay attention, it sends a subliminal message to the kid that what I'm doing is bad. And so kids, imaginative, just like you said, maybe the kid wants to be a baker or a electrician or a painter or a singer or a dancer, but they can't imagine it because they have to pay attention to the Battle of Hastings in 1066. That's what they're learning about in the class right now. That's what we have to, and so we kind of set the kids in a wrong way, I guess is the way to say it. I'm imagining something. I'm not hurting anybody. I'm dreaming about the future or whatever. I'm just doing something innocent. And so kids don't understand. If you're telling them, don't do this, they think that's bad. You know, you're yelling at me. This authority figure is yelling at me.
Says I only got an hour in this class.
I know that. I understand that. I'm just saying we have to.
I got all A's in school, but every report card, daydreams in class. Daydreams in class. Daydreams in class. I mean, yeah, but
I think we should have a journal day. I think the teachers should have a journal day.
Oh, yeah. Well, my kids have had they do journals. They keep a journal
Yeah.
as part of their class. And
Bring
they
your journal and just write. I mean,
Well,
you may get an
my
idea
youngest
about
kept up
something.
with that.
Brian said there about the kids think it's wrong. I think about kids with ADT. Is that attention deficit disorder?
ADD, yeah.
AD.
They say, they give a lot of these kids pills and things. But if they're boys, and I'm thinking, just put them on a treadmill.
Yeah. Let them go have recess,
Yeah.
gym class, something.
Well, they've done away with recess
I
in
know,
gym class
I know.
now because
Yeah, and I don't like.
And wonder why our kids overweight
Right.
because
Yeah.
they're not active. They sure not gonna get active at
I
home.
used to love middle shot.
Oh,
they took it out. That's one of the things.
I went to school because I wanted to go to middle shot.
Yeah, but that's one of the things that's coming back, thank goodness, in Texas. They took away,
They need
like,
to have that
Travis
back
High School
there.
had all these carpentry, workshop, automotive. Everybody, and then all of a sudden, every kid had to go to college.
Right.
Every kid shouldn't go to college. But
Let
they're
'em
putting
build
the shop, they're
computers
gonna
or-
put these, these trades back in the school, so at least
good.
they
Yes.
can.
That's good.
They come out of high school, they can hammer a nail.
But not
Yeah.
only, but you're saying something that's key. But more importantly than that, we have marketplace businesses that will train you on the job. I know people who are always looking for construction workers, pipe fitters, HVAC guys, drywallers, painters.
do they have to have a high school diploma?
No, and you don't have to have a good record. All you have to do is just be willing to
Yeah,
work.
just be felony
Austin
and
is-
they'll,
You could be a
Austin-
criminal. Yeah, they don't
Austin
care.
is prime for that. We don't have enough people to build Austin right now.
Right. And so some of these kids who are bored in school, but have an affinity maybe for working with their hands or something like that, they need to connect with some of these contractors around and say, hey, we have about 10 kids. Can you kind of interview them and see if they would fit?
start them out laboring on some jobs.
Hey, make $10 an hour where you can't get that at McDonald's.
Nope.
Hard work, pay attention, solve problems. Next thing you know, you
Learn a career
And there,
instead of
there are
flipping burgers.
and there are jobs here in Austin where a kid that's 18 years old that has drive that wants to go to work and be there every day can make $1,000 a week, $700 a week, $800 a week.
Well,
true.
what are you saying about
But you
school?
got to be there every day.
I'm saying that school
On the
has
job
its-
training?
Yeah, School has its place, and there are some people who will use school to go to college, and that's great. And then there's some kids who will do this wood shop or whatever in school, but just learning the basics and then find out what's your path. Again, it goes back to identity, because your identity is out of your identity is going to be birth your purpose. So if you are geared towards whatever direction you want to go in, your trade should do, or your career path should follow what's in your heart.
Well, you remember back in the day when you could take up a trade, go to school half a day,
Yes.
and then go
Work
to
study.
work
Yeah, work
study.
study, right,
Yeah.
Have
right.
that anymore?
I don't know, dude.
So I don't know either, but that would be a great thing because
Absolutely.
they still need some academics, I think,
Well,
but
now I think
that
they
work
count
study.
those credits more than
Hold on
important than
there.
that.
So we got about 4 minutes left now, and we never did get around to all the trucks clear up.
That's okay.
Oh.
We did this other stuff.
Next week we can talk.
Yeah, we got about 4 minutes. I did want to ask you, you had any ideas? Like I told you, I blame the Democrats most of all this.
I get paid to blame the Democrats.
I know I
But,
do that. I
but
do
not
that
every
job.
parent is a Democrat. Pope.
No, but I know 90% almost of the black people in this whole country vote Democrat. And I think we need to find some way to get them to come vote for our side.
Well, that's a whole nother show
Yeah.
for that one. The 5 ain't enough.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Can you come
Right.
back sometime?
You're gonna have to go. You're gonna have to go all the way back to the '60s when they created the.
Let's try
Welfare.
that.
Right.
We're
Welfare.
gonna be way
Let's try
back.
next time.
Well,
Come on, we can
well,
try that.
we'll have to go back. We have to go
Why
back to.
do black folks vote Democrat for 50 years and it turned the ghetto into all their neighborhoods?
Well, why do people smoke meth? I mean, why do people make decisions that are not good for their life? I mean, I don't remember anybody ever smoking meth or crack and waking up from it and saying, man, I feel blessed. It just doesn't happen. But there's a reason why people do it,
But they still do it.
and they still do it. So it's the mindset we have to change.
Never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
So if you want to go back, I hear what you're talking about. Then we'll have to delve into
We'll
the
have to have a
eugenics.
whole show
We'll have
on
to
it.
go into eugenics.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there's no
Marcus
one
Singer?
and there's no one magic group that's the answer to everything. So there are some good parts of the Libertarian Party, good parts of the Democrats or Republicans. I think everybody has a good piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
But just finding that matrix, finding that good fit where everybody can.
I think that would be a couple of different shows on that. We couldn't do it with just one.
Well, I still got a couple of
But-
Democrat friends, but it's getting harder and harder to. They get this attitude that I'm a Trumper or something, and they just don't want to have nothing to do with me. I tried to get David Thomas to come down. He wouldn't even respond. He did for a moment, then he quit. I don't know why. We've been friends for a long time.
Well, this city, I mean, Bernie Sanders beat Hillary Clinton in this county, so what? That'll tell you where
Bernie
we're at.
Sanders probably beat Hillary Clinton everywhere, but
Yeah, that's true too.
he's pretty obvious now. That,
Austin has always been liberal, the university and everything, and
Oh, we got a minute left.
a lot of them became Republicans under Reagan. So now it's.
Okay, stay tuned because you're coming on another show,
All right,
right?
I'd like to do that.
Aren't you coming on one as soon as
Well, yeah, that's exactly right. I've got another show tonight, but I mistook you and thought you were inviting me back, which I'd like to
Oh,
do.
well, yeah, you got to come back every time because you're pretty good on the other side of the camera.
Okay.
That's what I really need a lot of.
Next week we can get local issues, some local issues maybe.
I haven't started working next week, but yeah, I need to get busy.
The water, the paid sick time.
Yeah, I'll try to get some city council people on here again or something.
Yeah,
I've never been very successful there.
we don't need them.
I'd like to say that. 15 seconds. Okay, well, anyway, it was good to have you here, sir. Brian? Gedges, it was a good. I hope to see you again.
Thank you,
Say bye,
Brian.
Thank you
everybody.
for having me.
You're welcome. I'm so glad you came.
Say bye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Uh,